Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be checking out the Antebellum mod for EU4. Before we begin, consider leaving a like and subscribing if you enjoyed this video. Only 10% of you are subscribed, so it would really mean a lot. Let's get started. So Antebellum is an alternate history mod centered around Europe and the Middle East. The main idea of the mod is to preserve the base game gameplay without flooding the game with new mechanics, while also offering a new and fresh gameplay experience, provided by the addition of new countries, mission trees, events, and more. So this mod features new nations and formable nations, new decisions, events, idea groups and policies, updated mission trees for more than 90 countries, over 100 new provinces, new cultures and culture groups, ages and age abilities, religious, monuments, national ideas, technologies, buildings, government reforms, and tons of additions. So let's jump right into it and check it out. As I said previously, this mod focuses mainly on Europe and the Middle East, so that's what we are going to be focusing on in this video. So this is an alternate history mod, but Europe did look sort of like this before EU4's time frame, and the time frame is extended to the year 1900, so it is real history extended to be alt history, sort of. And as we can see, there are very few familiar things on a map at first glance. Now, the most normal looking thing on a map here is England and Scotland and the Irish miners, but what is new right here is that this is owned by Norway, this is owned by Denmark, we have Wales here as well as Cornwall. So that's pretty interesting to see that these nations are independent right now. England is allied with Wales, and here are all the Irish miners. Going down to France now, as the lore says, Francia is the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, with Lothair III being the emperor. And we can see some other nations here in the French region, and we have Upper Burgundy and Lower Burgundy, so it's not all one nation. And we also have Lotharingia right here. So familiar nations presented in a different way. Francia does have some subjects like Bourbon, Gascony, Nevers, and Occitania right here. We have Brittany, of course, and Normandy, we know of them. Going down to Iberia now, this is one of the most drastic changes. One of the main parts of the lore for this mod is that Andalusia did win the wars against the Holy Roman Empire when they tried to drive out the Andalusians. So they are, of course, present here, and they have a very strong position in the Iberian Peninsula, and of course, you know, Galicia, Asturias, and Navarra, they are present right now, and they all have truces with Andalusia. So Andalusia has truces with Francia, the Iberian nations, and the Pope, so that's basically who led the crusade against them. Most interesting, definitely. Going down to Italy, we do have some familiar things here, and some may be familiar but not exactly. So of course we have the Pope and his two subjects. We know of all these nations right here, and this is where things start to change. So instead of Milan, we have Lombardy present in Italy. We have Verona also. They do exist in EU4, but you have to release them. And Venice is orange. Is this worse than yellow farce? So those are the things that are familiar, and you might say, oh, look at that, it's Sicily. But wait, Sicily is a sultanate. Bet you didn't see that one coming. So this is also another part of the lore where basically the Muslim states have not lost to the Crusader states in a way. Going over to North Germany, some things are familiar, some aren't. You can see the Dutch nations right here. Now we have Veleti, which is an unfamiliar nation to us. We have Pomerania, which doesn't exist since 1.30 at the start date, of course. We have Dresden, some other familiar nations. Saxony over here in a different color, Nordmark, so some new and some old nations. We have Hansa present. We have Lübeck. Basically, Hansa is the leader of the Hanseatic League. In southern Germany, some things are familiar, some aren't. Of course, we have Bohemia, but we also have Moravia, and we have Silesia. So the two Bohemian vassals right here and a unified Silesia, they aren't subjects of Bohemia, and neither is Moravia, so these are independent nations. Austria literally doesn't exist. We have Styria, Carniola, and Tyrol. We also have Bavaria, which has been unified in this mod, so the three Bavarian miners aren't present. We have Swabia, which is a nation you can form, of course, and the rest of it seems pretty familiar. Now in the Hungary region, of course, we have Moravia sticking in, but we have so many new nations right here. So we have Ung. What is this? It's a chiefdom, so they are a tribe. We also have the Magyars, which are basically the Hungarians. Well, they're a principality. We have Pannonia, Bach, and Shekeli. So these These are basically, half of them are sort of Hungarian nations, the other half aren't. Very interesting that this is represented in this way. And we also have Wallachia and Moldavia. Of course, Moldavia is slightly bigger in this mod. Bosnia doesn't exist and neither does Herzegovina, but we do have Croatia and a large-ish Serbia. Of course, Serbia do control these provinces in Vanilla EU4, but I guess Bulgaria is the big boss of the Balkans in this mod, which is pretty interesting considering the fact that they don't even exist as an independent nation in EU4. You do have to release them. They have cores on some areas over here. Moving down, we have Epirus, pretty familiar, and we have Byzantium, a little bit larger definitely than in Vanilla EU4, so they do still have Constantinople and some more provinces here. Now, of course, I do think that this region did look like this at one point, of course, before EU4's time frame. Now, the most jarring thing about this mod is some of you might like this and some of you might hate it, but the Ottomans don't exist. Where are they? Not here. Of course, some of these nations will be familiar to you. This one not, but these are nations that can be released over here. These three: Enkeraman, Ramazan, Dulkadir, and Chandar. You already know them. Trebizond right here. And also the Mamluks don't exist either. We have the Nizarids, which are present right here, and we also have Jerusalem. Now, I think there's quite a few fans of Jerusalem out there, so you can play them at the start of the game. And we also have the Crusader state of Antioch right here. And there's some few provinces in the desert, which is pretty interesting to see. We have, of course, already seen this in Voltaire's Nightmare 2, provinces like this, which aren't connected to anything. Basically, nothing much has changed in North Africa, except that these two nations, which can be released in EU4, and they do pop out through events, are present. So Saleh and Tetuan. Are they pirate republics? We have to see. Going sort of in the Poland and Ruthenia region, we can see that Poland doesn't exist. Well, we have the Polans, which may be sort of a predecessor to Poland, and we also have a ton of nations here that do exist in EU4 that can be released. We have Zaporozhye, of course, known as the only Orthodox horde. I don't know if they're like that in this mod. And Lithuania is also tiny. We also have Pruthenia, so a ton of nations right here where Poland and Lithuania would be in Vanilla EU4. And the situation is pretty similar in Russia. Muscovy is tiny, and all the other guys which do exist are pretty big. Going over into the Nordic states, we have Denmark, Sweden, Norway, the usual, but also Finland and Sapmi. So this is very cool to see. These nations do exist in EU4, of course. You do have to release them. And in the Baltics, we have this nation right here, Samogitia, along with Livonia and Estonia. The situation over here looks pretty familiar, but we do have Persia instead of Ajam. And those are the main country changes. Now let's go into the religion map mode and see what we can find. So here we are in the religion map mode, and you can, of course, right away notice huge differences. So let's take a look at what is the same first. Of course, this region is Catholic, this is Orthodox right here, and so is here. But the things that are new is that most of Iberia, well, maybe not most, but half of it is Sunni. Now, of course, this is due to the fact that Andalusia rules these areas, so of course that they would be Sunni. And also we have the Sultanate of Sicily, which has the areas of Sicily and the southern third of Italy as Sunni. So that is pretty interesting, and of course it would be expected with two Muslim nations ruling these areas. Now going over here into the Hungary area, we have Tengri. Basically all of these Hungarian nations such as the Magyars, Bach, Shekeli, and Ung are Tengri. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that at one point in history it really was like this. Of course, a very long time before EU4 start date. Going over into Poland and northern Germany, so in the Pomerania areas, we have the Slavic religion. Now this is very interesting, and I'm assuming that the Slavic religion is sort of a merger of the multiple Slavic faiths that existed. So you do get -1 national unrest, +2% local missionary strength, and +10% national manpower from the Slavic faith. And of course we all know what you get from Tengri, but we also have the Romuva faith right here, so in the Baltic and in Pruthenia. And the Romuva faith is I'm guessing sort of another pagan religion, of course, for this region right here. And you get +10% production efficiency, +2% local missionary strength, and -10% regiment cost. So all of these new religions, they do have pretty nice modifiers. Going over here into the Finland sort of region, we have the Suomennusko religion, which is sort of a Finnish pagan religion, and it is present, of course, as we can see, in Estonia, in Finland, and in the Sapmi states. And you do get +5% national tax, +2 local missionary strength, and -10 advisor costs from this faith. So definitely pretty nice bonuses, I would say. I do wish that this religion was present in EU4. I don't know if it was already basically phased out by the time EU4's time frame comes around, but maybe having 1 or 2 provinces up here with this religious faith would be pretty cool for EU4. And we also have one of the most powerful religions that does exist in EU4. Of course, you can only apply it to custom nations and no province actually has it, but we have the Norse religion over here in Denmark and Norway as well as Iceland. Now the Norse religion, some of you may know, it gives you plus 2% local missionary strength, plus 10% naval force limit, and you may raid coasts. This is basically to represent the Vikings, which of course took part in raids. Some more interesting religion related things are that this westernmost part of Anatolia is Orthodox, so this is to represent some victories for the Crusader states, as well as this Catholic province right here in the Crusader state of Antioch, as well as Jerusalem. So we do have some successful crusades over here and some unsuccessful ones over here. Other than that, it's business as usual, except Persia is Zoroastrian. So we do have a Zoroastrian nation in this mod, and of course Zoroastrian has been buffed even more in 1.31 with the monuments and the new systems, and of course you do know the modifiers it gives you. So that's pretty much all the religion changes. Now we do see of course 3 new religions, one that isn't present in EU4 but does exist, and Tengri over here, as well as the Crusader states successes and failures. A much more diverse religious map than in vanilla EU4. Moving along to the culture map mode, and we can see some minor changes. Of course, Andalusian is much more present in Iberia right here. Not too much changes in France, but Breton is part of the Celtic culture group, which contains Irish, Highlander, Cornish, and Breton. We also have the Norse culture group, which has Danish, Swedish, Norwegian, and we do have the Finnic culture group, which has Finnish, Karelian, and Sami, as well as Estonian, and the Baltic culture group, which has Latvian, Lithuanian, and Ruthenian. So very interesting. The German culture group is significantly smaller than in vanilla EU4. Now all of these cultures that are present in the culture group, of course we know them, but it has been taken over by the West Slavic culture group, which has Polish, Slovak, Pannonian, Moravian, Czech, Silesian, Sorbian, Pomeranian is in this culture group, as well as Wendish. So it's very interesting that these regions are populated by Slavic people instead of German people. And this region right here, Hungarian, is its own culture group, with Hungarian and the Shekler culture being part of it, and Wallachian, Moldavian, and Transylvanian are part of the Romanian culture group. No changes for the Italian culture group or the South Slavic, but Albanian is part of the Byzantine culture groups, along with Greek and Pontic and Gothic. Turkish is in the Altaic culture group and not in the Levantine, as opposed to vanilla EU4, so Turkish is together with these cultures right here. And that's pretty much the culture map mode. Now, since the time frame in this mod is extended to 1900 instead of 1821, we do have another age, the age of industrialization, which is basically the 5th age, which does have some objectives like the scramble for Africa, industrial revolution, imperial army. We don't know what these means. Maybe I can jump into this age later so we can see, but either way, it's very cool that there is another age present in this mod instead of the original 4. And here I am, I have tagged into Francia so we can check out some of the institutions, technologies, idea groups, and more. So of course the first institution is feudalism, and the interesting thing is that it's not embraced over here. So in the Hungarian sort of nations, feudalism isn't present. Next, of course, we have the Renaissance, colonialism, printing press, we know these. But then the final institution is nationalism, which spawns in 1800, and it gives you minus 25% cost of advisors with rulers culture. So it's nice to see another institution. Of course, industrialization was added in Emperor, but we also have another one spawning in 1800. Of course, this is because the timeline goes to 1900 instead of 1821, so it does make sense. Maybe there's even room for one more in 1850, but I'll leave that up to the creators of the mod. Going into the idea groups, and we can see that you can pick 10 idea groups instead of the regular 8 that you can in vanilla EU4, and there are 3 new idea groups. So those will be state governance ideas from the admin idea group. Now let's see what these focus on. So you get plus 10% government capacity, minus 0.05 yearly corruption, years of separatism, minus 5, autonomy change, absolutism, dev cost, admin efficiency, and state maintenance. So of course this would be a great idea group for blobbing. The second new idea group is imperial ideas in diplomatic ideas. So of course you would probably pick these if you were the Holy Roman Emperor, and you get diplo relations plus 1 and imperial authority growth plus 5%. Now this is an insane modifier, like I said, especially for the Holy Roman Emperor. You get plus 1 diplomats, minus 10% unjustified demands and aggressive expansion impact, chance of renewal plus 50, diplo annex cost minus 10, vassalization acceptance plus 25, reform progress growth, diplomatic free policies, and improve relations. So this would be a must idea group if you're doing any sort of imperial gameplay. And finally we have professional ideas, classes. Now, assuming by the title, these focus on professionalism. So you get army drill gain modifier, leader cost, army tradition, recruitment time, army tradition decay, leaders without upkeep +2, morale of armies +10, and artillery damage from back row +15%. A very strong idea group, and I think it does fit in nicely in every style of play, to be honest. Going into the government reforms, and of course this is specific for Francia, but are different types of government reforms for different nations. I'm just showing these off because I have tagged into Francia, and they do have a unique government form, the Frankish monarchy, which gives them +1 diplo relations and some vassal stuff. Of course they do have vassals. These are familiar to us as well as these two, but this is a new one. So Palladium, it gives you +10% governing capacity. We have some military specialization reforms, so you have professional army, introduce conscription, mercenary army, and Frankish knights. So of course this would be a unique one to Francia, but I think these one are general ones, and you basically pick each one depending on which style of play you have. So a mercenary army would be maybe for if you're playing Switzerland. Introduce conscription is if you're massively blobbing, and if you already have some crazy manpower and force limit bonuses like Russia. And professional army you would probably pick as Prussia or someone. These are of course familiar in tier 5, and so are these in tier 6 and tier 7 and tier 8. So there are some unique government reforms, but it's not a total overhaul, and it does add a lot of flavor, definitely, I would have to say. Now going into the advisors, we can see that this is a new type of advisor which gives you -15% construction cost. That's definitely a very strong advisor. And going to other administrative advisors, we can see we have a monthly splendor guy, which is a very cool idea. Going into the diplomatic advisors, we can see shipbuilding time -25. Now this guy might be useful if you're going for a maritime empire. And we have imperial authority growth +10%. Now this would be insane if you're going for a Holy Roman Emperor run, and that's definitely a very powerful advisor. In the military advisors, I can't seem to notice anyone that's special, at least without firing these guys. Going into the mission of Francia, we have some unique missions right here, and it's a pretty big mission tree, so you will definitely be fulfilling missions for almost the entire game, maybe, if at least 2/3. And in the decisions, we can see that we can form the Frankish Empire, which is very interesting, as well as West Rome, and proclaim the Latin Empire. Now I have tagged into Byzantium to see some of their unique decisions, and we can see here strengthen the Theodosian walls. So basically we increase local defensiveness in Constantinople and settle southern Italy with Greeks, where if you conquer some of these provinces over here, the culture will get changed to Greek and the religion will become Orthodox. Here I have tagged into the Sultanate of Sicily, and we can see that they can form the Caliphate, restore Al-Andalus. Some cool decisions right there. They do have a unique mission tree, of course, which is pretty big, and they are an ICTA government type. Now I have tagged into the Polans here, which like I said are probably a predecessor of Poland of sorts. They have a small unique mission tree, and they can form Poland, so they do need to conquer some provinces over here in order to form Poland. And here I am as Denmark, and we can see that they do have a cool new unique flag, which is basically the Norse religion symbol as well. They do have a big unique mission tree as well, and they can form Scandinavia and do some Norse interactions right here. And here we can see the Norse faith, and we have Thor as our sort of deity, and he gives us land leader shock +1 and fort defense +10%. Here I am as Andalusia, and of course Andalusia does exist in regular EU4, but this is very different, and we do have a unique government form, the Andalusian Caliphate, and tons of reforms to choose from. Of course they would have a massive mission tree since they are probably the main focus of this mod. Now going into the buildings, we can also see some of the new buildings that are present in this mod, such as an early road, which gives us some trade power, movement speed bonuses, as well as possible number of buildings, gravel road, royal road, this road, and finally a railroad, which gives us -15% dev cost, plus 35% local trade power, plus 25% friendly movement speed, one more building, and 35% institution spread. Definitely great additions and very powerful as well. And finally, a huge shout out to Parmelian, who is the creator of this mod, and shout out to any other people that have worked on this mod. It's a very cool mod, and I do recommend it for everyone who's watching to check it out. You'll definitely get a very different feel for EU4 and play a very different style of EU4 in this sort of alt history way. Now I am playing on 1.30.6, but this mod will get updated for 131 in the next few days or weeks, so you guys should definitely check out the link in the description and take a look at this mod for yourself. I guarantee you will have a lot of fun playing it. Let me know in the comments below what's the next mod mod I should do a showcase for. And if you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe. Only 10% of you are subscribed, so it would really mean a lot. And I've also launched channel memberships, so if you want to support the channel with more than just subscribing, you can check out the join button down below and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.